Hello everyone, welcome back to my channel. My name is Faith, and as you guys know, I do a lot of makeup stuff. And as you guys also know, I do a lot of like the more alternative or sometimes horror style makeup, and that's no difference for today because we're going to be doing my Morticia Adams style, like very traditional makeup look. So this isn't going to be anything crazy like last year's Halloween where I did my Resident Evil Cassandra stuff. So this year it's going to be a lot more like toned down. Natural is a strong word, but more just regular without all the like fake blood and special effects for a more like normal costume that a lot of people might be trying. So if you like this kind of stuff, stay tuned. Let's get right into it. So we're going with the 1991 Morticia and not like the new Wednesday version or anything like that. Technically my favorite version is from 1964, but for this costume we're doing the more like super classic, everyone knows it. So I want to kind of show you guys how I'm not going to change my face too much and just follow her like main like point pieces of her makeup to kind of get that same look as her without like fully gluing down my brows, making it really accessible for everybody. So we're going to start with the primer. We're just going to use that like regular e.l.f. one. This is by far the best primer I've used for like drugstore brands. I really like the Smashbox one, but this one will like do you right for the entire night. So I'm going to start with this. I'm just going to use, actually no I'm not. I'm going to use my beauty blender for this. I want to try and use my beauty blender for pretty much everything. So I'm going to leave it over here for a second. I don't want to like keep touching my face. If you guys know, I had like really bad acne up until a couple months ago when it finally started clearing. So anyways, I'm going to start back of my hand. Get like a nice goopy layer here. Feel free to use a lot more product than you normally would because you're probably going to be using a lot more makeup than you normally do. So once you actually goop it all on, take your beauty blender and just start putting it all over the place. And if you guys don't know, I have a mirror behind my camera, so no, I'm not looking off at absolutely nothing. I'm still staring at myself. I'm also going to really load this up, so I'm not going to try and like smear it and make like, oh, a small amount is all you need. No, we're using a lot here. If you guys are like me and you're going to parties, you really want to make sure that your makeup is going to stay on the whole time. Just start like throwing it all over your face. And of course, if you don't have the exact same products that I have, that's also going to be totally fine. Do the things that you feel comfortable with. And I'm sure just using the same techniques will give you similar results. And also try and avoid your lips if you can, because this primer is very uncomfortable and like sticky. Not like for your face, but if you get it on your mouth. So once it's really on there, give it a couple seconds to like dry itself down. You want it to really be nice and tacky when you start actually putting your makeup on. So for my like face, just base stuff, we're going to take it really simple with like all drugstore stuff. So everything that I have is going to be very accessible for people. My powder is just the e.l.f. one. Foundation is like the classic Fit Me. And then we also have the like eraser concealer. I actually like to start with my concealer for all my dark spots. Then we'll do a load of foundation and then we'll like highlight a little bit more with the same concealer. Before anything else, you actually want to like make sure the dark spots are covered. So take your concealer, whatever that may be. Make sure you're going lighter than like your normal foundation. And we want to get that all over the dark spots. And the camera probably does not show them as dark as they actually are on my face. But I can still see some acne scars that I want to have covered. Not too many. But for the ones that I have, I want to make sure they're taken care of. So just like dot it on like this. This is not your concealer that's going to like work as the highlighting part of your face. So don't be like, well, this is going to look so stupid when it's all on. It will look totally fine. So you want to just kind of fan it down a little bit. Same way you just did with your primer to make sure it's really on there. And then very lightly dab it in. You don't want it blended because we're going to put our actual foundation on. You just don't want it to be like super wet for like, you don't want it to smear around when you put on your foundation. But if you blend it in too much, it's not going to do its job to actually cover everything. So this is what you want to be working with. Oh, let me get my nose, almost forgot. This is what you want to be working with before you do your like actual round of foundation. So we're just gonna make sure we get this all done. And then you want to start with your foundation, whatever one you're using. Make sure it's a little bit darker than your concealer and start putting it again on the back of your hand first. I might actually use this much because it will get absorbed with the Beauty Blender a little bit. And if you prefer to use a brush, go ahead and use that too. I like the Beauty Blender because it doesn't get all streaky. But I've used brushes a million times, so it's just a matter of like what your personal preference is. So you guys can see I got a huge blob of foundation, and we just want to make sure this goes everywhere, all over the face. Again, you want this to be mostly full coverage, medium to full coverage. So don't try and blend it out a ton. Use more product if you think you need more product. And before anybody is like, oh, well, Morticia is super pale. Faith, you're super pale. That makes sense for you to be here. Does not matter. Just do whatever. Use your regular base makeup that you feel comfortable doing. I'm obviously going a little bit lighter than normal because she's got that like ghostly look to her. But if you want to just use your regular foundation, whatever skin tone you have, just go ahead and use it. It really will not matter either way. And again, try and get this all over your face. The goal is to look like this. You want a mask with absolutely no depth going into this, and then we'll add the depth back in later. And if you remember, I didn't mention using any contour specifically because I do not buy and use contour. I'm just going to use eyeshadow. And especially if you're using a lighter shade than normal, but for everybody, make sure you really blend it down or else you're going to look absolutely insane and not in the good way. So I'm just taking it down my neck. I'm very pale, so it kind of does just blend in. But you want it to look like this around this point. As you can see, there's a couple spots around my nose. I'm going to take the sharp, pointy side of my Beauty Blender, get in there. And we're really going to bake this in with the powder afterwards, so that way it really sits in place. But once you have it on the way you want it, we're going to let it sit for a second before we go and do anything else, because I don't want my like next round of concealer to smush the foundation in like different directions. And from this point on, I'm going to try really hard to not to make too many facial expressions because I don't want to add any creases before we do our powder. But the base looks pretty good. And as you guys can see, mine is not fully blended up into my hairline, but I'm wearing a wig tonight, so it doesn't matter. I'm going to lightly clean up my little area real quick. And I'm also, as you guys can see, just taking it down just to be safe. Sometimes it's hard with the bright light of the camera, so it looks kind of like it's blended, but in my mirror it looks a little bit off. So we just want to make sure all the spots that'll be seen are the same color. Now, once we've given it a second to sit, we're going to go back in with the concealer. And I'm like used to doing ASMR stuff. That's why I'm like subconsciously doing this. Now we're going to take it underneath of the eyes and start by going up. You want to kind of follow that like sharp bone structure-y look that she has. So you want to go over the eyes like this, a little bit on the forehead like this, and then we want to do a little bit on the tip and bridge of the nose. These are the areas that we want to be sharp. And if I'm like looking to my right to look at my computer as well, we're going to be highlighting the cheekbones too, but we'll do a little bit more over here and a little bit on the chin like this. I think I'm good with this personally. If I have a lot of like bonier features to begin with, if you don't and you want to get more dramatic with it, go ahead and do that. But once that's on, just take your flat end again and just tap it in very, very gently. As you can see, it creates those lines like pretty much instantly. You don't want to do anything crazy and like blend the colors in together. You still want there to be a little bit of that separation, like I said. We're not trying to make this like one giant seamless base. We want to see the difference in color for the foundation and the concealer. So as you guys can see, we're brighter underneath the eyes now and a little bit on the cheeks. And I'm trying to stay a little bit farther back from the camera so you can see everything that I'm doing instead of just being like, hey guys, the whole time. So once this is all on, you should be good to go with your foundation and concealer. If you want to add more, go ahead. And if you're going to use any liquid products, I would say use that now before you do your powder. Because I'm not using any more liquid from this point on, I'm going to go in with my powder and start to set everything. So we're actually going to open this up. And I'm going to take a ton of this. If you like white powder, use white powder. I'm just using the same shade as my foundation. But white powder will work just as good. Literally, you can see it smoking. Whew. So from now, I am going to take an actual brush. You guys love my rhinestone brushes. Get this nice and super covered. And just do the first layer all over the place. I'm trying not to like breathe in this dust right now. I look like I'm steaming and I'm like not breathing in so I don't like inhale all of this. You really want to make sure you cover your whole face as well as your neck. Get your eyes, and if your eyebrows are in that spot, that's fine too. And I hope you guys can't hear the dryer going too loud. That's totally out of my control. So zooming guys back in again. As we can see, we are pretty much flawlessly flat from this point. What I do want to do either way is get a sharper brush, get more of this powder, and we really want to bake in these parts of the face. So back with the Beauty Blender, taking the sharp end, you want to scoop up a bunch of powder like this and just press it in right over top of the areas that are gonna get creased. So again, you want a nice big chunk of powder and get really tight up in there because we want those areas to be the ones that are like totally staying put. So around the nose is another important spot. On the nose, at least for me, if you have creases in different spots, go in those spots. But for me, I know it's mostly going to be my smile line because I'm going to be laughing the whole time. And it's going to be around my eyes for the same reason. But if you guys like crunch up your forehead a lot, add some more there. And once I have the like most of it with the Beauty Blender, I'm really gonna lock in, take a pointy brush like this and just start scooping some on as well. So I really just want it like in those spots. We are obviously gonna wipe this off later, but for those of you who are like not familiar with baking your makeup down, this is not going to show up once you're done. It's going to be totally gone. You're essentially just like dusting a layer onto your face. Once you got all those spots that you really want stuck down, I think I am gonna put some on my forehead. Now that I've mentioned it, it's gonna be like in my head that I need a little extra here. So once we're done with that, put my powder away. We'll move on to doing some of the stuff that's not gonna be messed with when the powder's setting. So I have two palettes here, and you can use any palettes you want. It's more important what the colors are. This is the Jaclyn Hill Dark Magic palette, and then this is the Blowing Smoke ColourPop palette. So main reasons I have two is because I need like a little bit of gray, a little bit of neutrals. So as you guys can see, these are totally out of order. I've dropped this palette multiple times. Really want this one for like this gray here and then the actual black. And then this palette for essentially like these more brown colors. I don't even know if I need all of them, but I know for sure I need these three and this one on the corner here. This is me looking at my reference image. So we're gonna start with my eyebrows, which I'm just gonna fill in with a dark black. And for my brushes, I have a ton of them. You don't need anywhere near this many. Use the ones that you feel comfortable with. But for brows, just doing a sharp angled brush. Let me give you a better view. Just like this, so that way I can keep mine nice and skinny. So taking that dark black, just gonna follow my natural brows. Let me get down here for you guys. There, obviously you can go and glue your brows down and keep them nice and arched like hers, but you don't have to. I'm just gonna kind of make mine more round than they normally are, but keep the shape the same. Because she kind of has more of that like ovally brow structure. She's got a little bit more on the underneath too. So feel it out. If you don't want to go crazy on it, don't make yourself uncomfortable. But this is kind of the shape that she has going on. So I'm replicating it just to the best of my ability. And again, not using anything fancy. If you guys like your pomades and stuff like that, go ahead. I prefer to just use eyeshadow because honestly, it just comes off the easiest at the end of the day. And I'm like a big, I need to take a shower when I come home from an event person. So I need this stuff. You want to get them as even as you can. Obviously, it's pretty much impossible most of the time, but just try your best. The good news if you're going to like a party is that it's probably going to be dark and no one's going to notice. So long as you're doing your best like this, you'll be pretty set. Do you think it needs to be a little higher on my left side? Was like locking in when I'm doing my brows to really get them in. And we are gonna go back in and shape them, by the way, so don't freak out too much. I just wanna make sure that they have her shape to them. Actually, this one kind of looks really good. Before I do anything else. The one thing that she does have, because her brows are like all the way up here, if you guys don't have a lot of room between your brow bone and your lids, and you're like, oh my God, how's this makeup gonna work? I'm gonna show you the best example that I can on my own face, even though I do have a lot of room. So just do what you can for your brows, however you like them. And if you want to carve them out, be my guest. I actually don't think I'm going to. I'm kind of pleased with how these have turned out. Hers are a little overly drawn on top, so I'm gonna keep it that way. I think I'm just gonna leave my brows as they are. Maybe I'll go back in a little bit. So before we do anything else, go back in with your powder brush. We're just gonna wipe away all the excess that's here. And your face probably is feeling really dry by that point. Good, you want your face to be dry because that means everything is gonna stay where it needs to be. So this is what we want for our base. Essentially, we're gonna do a little contour with the eyeshadow, but like the foundation part is done. So for our actual eyeshadow, I want to start you guys off with that really plain sort of like nude shade. So depending on what your skin tone is, get that color, and that's the actual shade you want to start with. My brushes are definitely not clean, so I'm gonna have to wipe all of them on my sweatpants. And we're just gonna go in with these fluffy brushes for this. And then, like I said, we're gonna go with a very skincare similar color and start with that all over the entire area up to your brow. Morticia has a lot of these shimmery colors going on, a lot of like highlight. So we wanna make sure that we have a nice base. And if your like base makeup is in the crease of your eye a little bit, that's fine because your eye's gonna be open anyways. And then just everything we do to one side, we're gonna repeat exactly the same to the other. Her makeup is symmetrical, so we don't want anything too crazy. Just make sure you're going all the way up to your brow bone. And again, if there's not a lot of space in between, keep this step the same because you still need to have that base. You want your color to be slightly different than like your foundation color, just to like actually show that you're wearing the eyeshadow. I'm gonna take a little bit underneath as well. Sticking with the same brush here, because she does have a little bit of that dramatic lower lash line. Then once we're done, that's how we're starting. You can already see that there's a difference in color. And we're gonna go in with that gray color next. So if you have a hooded eye and you have like way less space here, what I think is best for you is to avoid doing a giant like strip of gray, which is about what I'm gonna go do. I would just avoid it entirely and do your makeup the way you would normally do it. So do your like brown shade or your nude shade like this, and then where she's got all the highlighter in the front, make sure you put that up on top. And where this like gray is on the hood, I would either skip it or take your eyeliner and just draw like a black line in the actual crease, so when you shut your eye, you can still see it. You can also maybe do a little tiny bit. For example, let me get a little brush. If you have a brush that's around this size, I would go in with that and maybe draw out a very tiny wing in between, but I wouldn't overdo it with the gray or else it's gonna look like your whole entire eye is gray. Anyways, I'm gonna go in with the gray and kind of put it all over the spot. I'm gonna use this darker one here. This is gray as well, but it's a little too white for me. We'll go with this one. Take a little tiny bit on your brush, and then we're just gonna kind of blend it above the crease, but not all the way up to the brow. Really try and concentrate on this part. Don't like rush it too much or it's gonna end up looking really strange. And you really want it focused more on the outer corner than you do on the inner corner. Try and keep it so it's pretty even all the way across. Just like this. And again, it's hard to explain since I don't have hooded eyes. Doing a really thin line like this just on your crease will give you a little bit more of that drama, so you still have that look to you. Gonna repeat the same thing we just did on this side onto the other side here. Again, taking it nice and slowly and carefully into that crease area. I think the key to getting this done properly is just really aiming only in the crease. Don't aim to go above it and do not aim to go below it. But if you were going to get it in the wrong direction, I think it's a little bit better to go too low than it is to go too high, because you can always just wipe off your lid and redo it. It's a little bit harder because then you start messing up your brow if you go upwards, which we know is hard work, especially if your brows are uneven. So try and aim a little lower than aiming too high. And less is more, do not overdo it. So I think I'm good with this here. Like checking all my angles. Part of me wants to keep adding a little tiny bit more to make it nice and dark. But try to only concentrate the dark parts on the outside. And again, if they're not perfectly even, that is the whole point of the Addams family in general. They're a little bit odd, so it doesn't really matter too much. But make sure you focus on just getting this little wing in here. And this is where my perfectionist comes out one way or the other, where I'm like, oh my God, they have to be as close as humanly possible. I think we're gonna stop it here before I make this into a whole thing. This looks really good. You kind of want this sort of base here. It also almost makes it look like you've raised your brow up, just because it's like a weird spot to have that extra crease in. So once you're in, like this, put the brush down. At least that's what I have to tell myself. So it looks a little bit more like as she comes down, that her gray comes into her actual lid a little bit, and then a little bit underneath with more black than gray. And the rest of it, we're gonna go in with that brighter color. So before anything else, taking that same smaller brush I showed you earlier, I'm just gonna take a little tiny drop of that gray and put it only on the most outer part of the lid. Not going anywhere beyond it. As you guys can see, I'm really trying to keep it in this one little spot, because we do not wanna make it like a big, thick, like blown up smoky eye. Just wanna keep it detailed where it is here. That's pretty good in my opinion. And then with the same brush before you put it down, I'm gonna go in with some black and go directly underneath. So I actually am just gonna look straight up in the sky and pray it's going in the right spot. Just like this. We'll go back in with the eyeliner later, which will make it a little bit more pronounced, but for now, we just want to get a little bit of that base in. Especially in my opinion, it looks a little bit more dramatic when you do both eyeliner and eyeshadow on the lower lash line. So we'll kind of end it there before we do anything too much. And I want you to find a flat brush, whether it be like square like this one or rounded across. Let's see what we have in here. The more round you can get it, the better. This is my lipstick brush, so I'm gonna leave this one down. All right. Actually, I'm gonna go in with the straight one because I don't want to ruin my lipstick brush. You should be totally done with your darker colors by this point. The only thing you might want more of later is black, but I have it in this palette anyways. So from here, I'm not even gonna bother too much going in with a second shade of brown. I'm gonna go straight into this like shimmery kind of color instead. And I am gonna do both a layer of this and a lighter one too. Kind of just showing you guys here. Move my other mirror in my hand. You want it all over the inside part. So this like inner corner of your eye going outwards is where you want all the shimmer to be placed. And again, we're gonna do more of that highlighter on the brow too to really match her makeup after. Before anything else, we need to make sure that we get it on the lid. And try and make sure you blend it over top of some of that gray. So make it a little bit more dramatic. You're not trying to like do some measly little makeup here. You also want to try and avoid, if you guys can see, I do have a little bit on my face. You kind of want to smoosh as much of it off as you can. I'm actually going to go with my big powder brush here to kick some of this off. Once you're done on this side, again, do the same on this side with the same brush. And if you don't have these exact colors either, I probably should have said this before, don't like worry too much. It will still look good if you do similar ones. I just happen to have a ton of palettes over the years of people giving me makeup, so I have a big selection to choose from. I'm a big fan of this so far. But I think what I'm gonna do is actually take my lighter shade, use the same brush, and then go right back over it. So that would be this like whitish one here. So give it a little bit more shimmer in that same spot. It's gonna go back over top of it with this color also. If you have something that's a little bit more gold toned or like bronzy, that might also look really good here. You can just mix and match however you like. That looks pretty good to me. And then taking that same light shade, I'm gonna put it all underneath the brow up here. I'm gonna keep the same brush too, because I think it looks a little bit easier to use this like flat head. We're just gonna blend it down, and to kind of follow that shape that she has, you can take it down on that little angle here. So you get the shininess and you get that little contour that she does over her nose. If you don't have a flat brush like the one I'm using, you can get away with using pretty much anything else. So long as you can create that line, it'll look good. I want my contour a little less harsh than it looks on my face. I'm just gonna take my big brush and go over it a couple times like this. And then make sure that all of the other eyeshadow on my face is gone. As you can see, I literally got a giant blob of it on my chin. I'll show you how to fix that in a second. I just have makeup all over me. But in the meantime, make sure that the rest of your face is cleaned off. And then quickly, just to get this part done and out of the way, I'm literally just gonna take my beauty blender and whatever's left on it, throw it right over top. Just like that. Then go back in with the powder. Take whatever little bit I can grab from like the lid and go back over that as well. Extremely easy. You don't want to like rub anything off of your face or you're going to end up with a huge giant mess. So just always pat it down to cover it. So I'm looking back at my picture here. What I think I want to do next before we like move on to the contouring of the actual face is the eyeliner for your eyes. This is my very, very well-loved NYX black pencil liner. I'm going to start by just getting it all in the inside of your waterline. Try to show you the best I can here. You want to make sure it's very strong. We're not like skimping out here. The darkest blacks of her makeup are in her actual eyeliner, not in her eyeshadow. Then we'll take it a little bit lower as well to kind of blend it in with the eyeshadow that we added earlier. So that way you have that really strong black underneath your eyes. Now looking at her face, she has a really tiny wing that comes out first before anything else. So I'm gonna go back with that same brush that I had earlier, the angled one that I did for my eyebrows. If I can grab it. Here we go, or just a similar one like this. Going back in with the black from this palette, I'm gonna start by just drawing out the liner. I don't think I'm gonna use any liquid eyeliner for this. I think it's gonna look a lot better with just the either eyeshadow or that pencil one. Very, very carefully, taking it from where I think I would go on the top line here. I'm gonna draw a small little wing with the eyeshadow. Be very careful and don't do too much because we can fill it in better later. Maybe I will use some of the liquid to kind of like set it more in place. I'm gonna draw it first just with the eyeshadow. I think that'll give a nicer like blended look once it's on there, and I'll like add more dimension and depth to it. And again, if you have hooded eyes and you do your eyeliner a little bit differently, feel free to do that however you want, or like however you feel best. I totally just realized I'd block the entire camera if I did it that way. I also have some bigger lashes I'm probably gonna throw on after mine. If you don't like lashes, don't wear them, but I think they're gonna pull everything together afterwards. So, this is looking much better. I think I might go back in with the liquid liner too. So I just want to blend it a little bit more in. Because what I want it to kind of look like, if this is going to make any sense, is like this is the shadow of the eyeliner that I'm going to put on. So as you can see, I'm taking this smaller, like smudgier brush, just going over the spots I just did with the eyeshadow. Actually looks really good. I might do a little bit more here first, and then we'll go in with our pencil or liquid liner, whatever you prefer, and like make it much stronger than it is here. Amazing. So, put these back. I like to use the like classic e.l.f. liquid liner here because it's extremely cheap and it stays on for quite some time. And I'm literally going to keep it as low to my eyes as humanly possible, starting all the way over here on the inner corner and slowly drawing it outwards. I'm gonna keep it nice and small when you do your wing. She does not have anything too dramatic. And just make sure to not overdo it. There we go. Same thing on the other side. Nice and close to the face. I'm gonna move up a little bit because I showed you guys on the other eye and it's a little easier for me to see up here. And from this point, we are almost done. So a few small little things to do with your lipstick and your eyeliner. And of course, I want to do a little bit of contour on the face. Okay. So what I think we'll do next is go in with a little tiny bit of our contour. If you have like strong bones and you want to keep your face natural that way, please go ahead and do that. As much as I do have stronger features, made sure to mute out my face as much as humanly possible when I did my foundation. So taking this like flatter kabuki brush that I'm wiping again on my pants and using this brown color up here, I'm gonna do a very, very quick dab and go directly under the cheekbones to start here. And again, do not do too much, less is going to be more. You just want to carve out the areas that you want to like show are a little bit stronger than the others. So for me, it's going to be under the cheekbones. And if you end up adding a little too much, I'll show you with your beauty blender how to fix that. But for now, just start with this, which as you guys can see, has immediately given me new depth to my face. I'm gonna go in a little bit more up here for the ones that I did on my nose, just to take it further down. I didn't even re-dip it into the eyeshadow. I'm just using what's already on the brush. I think that helps you take it down your nose a little bit more. And let's say you didn't want it as dark. Take whatever's left on your beauty blender and very lightly tap it out. And then again, if you want to go back in with your powder, set it back in place, you can go and do that too. For me, I like mine nice and dramatic here. I do a little under the nose like this and leave it like that. Morticia does not have any blush on. She's pretty much like starkly white once you're actually looking at her. So we're not even gonna worry about adding any more color there. What I do wanna add, once I think my eyeliner is good, which I think I'm just gonna leave it as it is my mascara. So I have this like mineral-y one that I got at a health food store. If you want to use waterproof, go ahead and use that. If you want the super stuck, I don't anticipate myself needing one. And I'm just gonna lightly put it all over my eyes. I'm also thinking I might not even wear lashes. If you have longer lashes like I do, you might not need any since we're using like such a thin eyeliner. Usually if you have like thicker eyeliner and alternative makeup, you end up not being able to actually see your lashes at all if you don't wear fake ones. But for something like this, which is more on, again, the natural side, you might not even need anything. So as you guys can see, it actually makes a huge difference just adding what I've already done. We're gonna do the same thing on this side too. I really like this style of makeup. It's very comfortable for like long-term wear. If I was going to work, I work at an office, as some of you guys know. This is something that I could keep on all day without feeling like my face is gonna melt off. There we go. Feeling pretty good about that. So what I have for my lipstick is this, again, from the health food store. It's this all natural kind of like lip paint. And I'm just gonna go in with this brush here. But my recommendation to absolutely everybody is to put your chapstick on first. Just because your face is gonna be dry, your lips are gonna be dry. And if you have like a stronger kind of lipstick, you won't have to worry about it getting smudged. If you're using like Wet n Wild or something that you're just gonna reapply a bunch of times, you might not have to worry about chapstick or anything. So Morticia's got this bright red lip. It matches her nails, which mine are not done yet, but they will be in a minute. And I'm just gonna follow my natural shape. If you wanna slightly overline yours, or if you wanna like follow her actual shape, go ahead. But again, I try to keep my costumes kind of similar to myself. Not go too far outside like what my face looks like. I know a lot of you like the triggers when I do ASMR videos, the lip popping sounds. And I think it's like second nature at this point for me to just do them. All right, once your lips are on, you're pretty much done. The last thing that I want to do is add a little bit of highlighter to my like actual cheekbones, but I'm not gonna go in with that same brown one that I did earlier. If you have one like that, go ahead and use it. I have this like bright blue one. It's my favorite highlighter in the world. It is from Canva Studios. I think it's Japanese. And I'm just gonna take whatever brush I have here, like a big one like this size, grab a ton of it on the end of the brush because she's pretty shiny. It's like that vampire sheen. Just try and tap it on top. I don't want it to be too much. I'm kind of just getting the glitter from this because I don't want to wipe off my foundation. Just want to give myself a subtle little glow on top of everything we've already done. So from this point, anything else is up to you. If you want to go and add some lashes, go ahead and add those. I'm going to change into my costume and show you the finished look. Before I forget, setting spray, if you guys use it, put it on now that you're totally done. If you don't even bother. So everyone, this is our finished look. I hope you guys have a better wig than I do, but this is my little cheap wig, my beautiful face, got my nails done, and of course, the actual costume itself. Thank you all so much for watching. I hope you guys have a great Halloween. Mwah, and I'll see you next time. Bye-bye.